doesn't deserve this.
Told you to stay off my property!
There's been a ton of gossip and rumors floating around about Reacher Season 4, but not all of them have the facts to back them up. So we figured, why not do a little fact-checking ourselves and share it with you? Then you can decide which theory makes the most sense. Today, we're diving into the main villain theories and predictions for Season 4. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's kick things off with a little fact-checking and a whole lot of speculation as we dive into predictions for Reacher Season 4. Specifically, the theory that it might introduce not just one, but two deadly female villains pulled straight from Lee Child's novels. Even though Season 3 of Reacher recently wrapped up, it's never too early to start looking ahead. And let's be honest, a season of Reacher just isn't complete without a seriously dangerous villain. With Alan Ritchson still going strong as Jack Reacher and 26 of Lee Child's 29 novels still waiting to be adapted, the creative team has a wealth of thrilling material to choose from. One book that fans are particularly buzzing about is Gone Tomorrow, the 13th novel in the series. If Season 4 does choose to adapt this one, it could bring Reacher to the chaotic streets of New York City, introducing him to one of his most complex and sinister cases yet. So what makes Gone Tomorrow such a standout choice? For starters, it's one of the rare books in the series that's told in first person, which means readers get direct access to Reacher's thoughts. The story begins with Reacher riding the subway late at night, where he notices a woman named Susan Mark behaving suspiciously. She fits the profile of a suicide bomber, so Reacher approaches her, but instead of confirming or denying the threat, she takes her own life. The NYPD quickly chalks it up as a suicide and closes the case, but Reacher, being who he is, isn't convinced. So, naturally, he starts digging. What he uncovers pulls him into a dangerous political conspiracy. Turns out Susan worked at the Pentagon and knew way too much about some shady operations. As he investigates further, Reacher teams up with NYPD detective Teresa Lee and Susan's brother Jacob. Together, they follow a trail that leads them to a powerful Washington politician named John Sansom, who seems desperate to keep his past buried, along with anyone who might expose it. But here's where things get really interesting. Reacher's search brings him into contact with two mysterious women, Svetlana and Lila Hoth. These two claim to be mother and daughter, friends of Susan who blame Sansom for a host of crimes, including the death of Svetlana's husband Grigory. According to their story, Grigory was a Soviet soldier killed in Afghanistan by U.S. Special Forces operating illegally. The women describe horrific scenes of torture and betrayal, and Reacher finds himself half believing them, though something about their story, particularly their claim to be related, just doesn't quite add up. And that's because it doesn't. Eventually, Reacher uncovers the truth. Svetlana and Lila aren't who they say they are. They're not grieving family members. They're not even Russian. They're Al-Qaeda operatives. Yeah, let that sink in. These two aren't just lying about their identities. They're full-on terrorists who've been leaving a bloody trail across the U.S. Among their victims, Susan's son Peter, who they tortured and murdered on camera. That video becomes a key piece of the mystery and a terrifying insight into just how dangerous the Hoths really are. They're not just cold-blooded killers, they're psychological warfare specialists, using torture videos and fear as tools to manipulate their targets. Susan had tried to comply with their demands by retrieving a damning memory card containing a photo of Sansom with Osama bin Laden. The existence of that photo would have ended Sansom's political career and embarrassed Al-Qaeda. Susan managed to erase all digital traces of the image and planned to hand the memory card over, but she missed the deadline, got caught in traffic, and the Hoths retaliated by killing her son. The heartbreak and trauma led her to take her own life in front of Reacher. So now Reacher has multiple enemies, two ruthless killers who aren't afraid to play dirty, and a powerful politician with federal agents on speed dial. It sets the stage for an intense game of cat and mouse through New York City, with Reacher in full-on fugitive mode. Imagine a gritty, boots-on-the-ground chase through subway tunnels, rooftops, and alleyways with everyone gunning for him. It's Reacher meets John Wick, and it would be amazing. Eventually, Reacher does manage to track down Svetlana and Lila, but there's a catch. In true Reacher fashion, he wastes all his ammo taking out their bodyguards, leaving him unarmed when it matters most. The Hoths force him to strip, preparing to torture him the same way they did Peter. But Reacher has one last trick up his sleeve, or more accurately, taped to his back. He hides a knife and waits for just the right moment to strike. It's a brutal, messy fight, and Reacher takes a lot of damage, but he wins, barely. He tapes up his wounds with duct tape, passes out, and wakes up in a hospital bed. Classic Reacher. If this storyline is chosen for Season 4, it would be a significant shift in tone. While Season 3 leaned heavily into revenge and personal vendettas, adapting Gone Tomorrow would see Reacher returning to his roots, fighting for justice, not vengeance. Plus, it introduces villains that aren't connected to his past, adding a fresh dynamic to the series. These women would be unlike any adversary Reacher has faced before, and watching him go toe-to-toe with two of Lee Child's most dangerous characters could take the show to another level entirely. There's also something to be said about the setting. New York City isn't just a backdrop, it's practically a character in its own right. The noise, the crowds, the constant motion, it would add an extra layer of tension and urgency to every scene. And with Reacher being hunted by both the government and terrorists, there's no shortage of suspense. Thematically, it would be a compelling evolution for the character. We'd see him battling threats that are bigger than himself, ones tied to global politics and terrorism, rather than small-town corruption or military grudges. It'd make the stakes feel higher and the payoff that much more satisfying. One rumor floating around for Season 4? That the villain might not come from Gone Tomorrow after all, but from No Plan B, the 27th book in the Jack Reacher series released in 2022. Set in Gerardsville, Colorado, the story kicks off with a tragic event seen by two very different witnesses. One man claims a woman jumped in front of a bus, taking her own life, but the other witness, none other than Jack Reacher, swears she was pushed. And when Reacher smells foul play, you know he's not walking away. Enter Bruno Hicks, a potential Season 4 villain who brings a new kind of horror to the table. He's the head of Minerva Correctional Corporation, a privatized prison operation hiding a sickening secret: illegal organ harvesting. That's right. Under Hicks's command, inmates are quietly turned into donors without their consent. And since nobody's checking in on these prisoners, who's going to notice when they go missing? Hicks isn't some low-level thug either. He's a suit-and-tie kind of monster, running a full-blown syndicate with the power to silence anyone who gets in his way. But when the demand for fresh organs starts to skyrocket, things get messy, and Hicks quickly finds himself on Reacher's radar. Bad news for him. If this storyline makes it to the screen in Season 4, we're talking about a deeply disturbing conspiracy with a villain who's cold, calculating, and completely different from Reacher's past foes. Plus, it would give the show a chance to explore themes of justice, corruption, and the dark side of for-profit prisons. Whether it's the terrorist duo from Gone Tomorrow or the organ-harvesting mastermind from No Plan B, one thing's for sure, Reacher's going to need more than his fists next season. So, with Season 4 already in the works and a Neagley spin-off also on the horizon, fans can't help but wonder, which book will be next? If Gone Tomorrow ends up being the choice, we're in for a ride. A twisted, explosive, emotionally charged ride that could redefine what the series is capable of. So, what do you think? Would Gone Tomorrow make the perfect story for Season 4, or is there another Lee Child novel you're hoping to see brought to life next? Let us know in the comments. And that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.